Om. Om. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhi Tamastu ma Vitvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Chaiva Tato Jayamudiraye. Hari Om. Jai Gurudev. I hope my screen you are able to see. I have logged in only from one device today.
Yes, Bella.
Okay. So we were looking at verse 23. I will just read a paragraph before that, which is the essence of the 23rd verse. Everyone is given innocence first. Then, while innocent, you gather problems. But you will also become mature. Enough experiences, enough pain, enough sorrow is given to you so that you can become an adult. Thus, you find that the person who addresses the problem becomes a happy person. This person alone is a true human being, a karma yogi, one who is ready to take the next step, meaning that the person's mind is prepared for the knowledge. In the next verse, Krishna describes the person who has this knowledge. Yonta sukhontaramas tathantarjyotireva sa yogi Brahma Nirvanam Brahma bhuto digacchati. Yah, the one, antah sukha, one whose fulfillment is in oneself, antar arama, one who revels in oneself, tatha, so too, yah, the one who, antar jyotihi, one whose mind is awake to oneself, saha eva, he alone, yogi, is a wise person, Brahma bhutaha, being the one whose self is Brahman, Brahma Nirvanam, the freedom that is Brahman, Adhigacchati, gains, Yaha antah sukha antar aramah tatha yaha antar jyotihi saha eva yogi Brahma bhutah Brahma Nirvanam adhigacchati. The one whose fulfillment is in oneself, the one who revels in oneself, the one whose mind is awake to oneself, that wise person alone, whose self is Brahman, gains the freedom which is Brahman. In the previous verse, Krishna talked about the karma yogi, Sukhi, the happy, cheerful person. Here we have three beautiful words to describe the wise person. One who has the knowledge of the Atma being Brahman, Antah Sukha, Antar Arama, and Antar Jyoti. The meanings for which we shall see now. So please remember these three words. The Antah Sukha. The Antah Sukha is one for whom fulfillment is in oneself alone. What kind of self? The self that is Sat, Chit Ananda Atma, that is Brahman. Generally, people look to situations for their happiness, which is why they have problems, all of which have been already pointed out. We also saw that the Karma Yogi, because of his or her attitude, enjoys a certain sukha. Here, knowing the Atma, the person finds fulfillment in oneself. Where else can you find fulfillment? In fact, because I am fullness, I am fulfilled. You cannot say I am fulfilled because I am married, because I have a son, because I have this job, because I have this or that. If you think your fulfillment depends on such things, you will definitely find yourself in trouble sooner or later. The one who is fulfilled is one for whom fulfillment is centered on the knowledge of I. That I is fulfillment in itself. It is fullness. It does not lack anything whatsoever. It is free from any notion, free from doership, free from any sense of limitation or imperfection. All that is there is pure consciousness, which is fullness, which is whole. The person who is truly fulfilled with this knowledge of oneself is called Anta Sukha here. It's very beautiful. I'll read once again. Where else can you find fulfillment in fact? Because I am fullness. I am fulfilled. You cannot say I am fulfilled because I am married, because I have a son, because I have this job, because I have this or that. If you think your fulfillment depends on such things, you will definitely find yourself in trouble sooner or later. The one who is fulfilled is one for whom fulfillment is centered on the knowledge of I. That I is fulfillment in itself. It is fullness. It does not lack anything whatsoever. It is free from any notion, free from doership, free from any sense of limitation or imperfection. All that is there is pure consciousness, which is fullness, which is whole. The person who is truly fulfilled with this knowledge of oneself is called Anta Sukha here. It reminded me of Brahmaraj's sentence, Antarmukhi Sada Sukhi. Nothing is required to amuse the wise person. Because this person is Anta Sukha, he or she revels in the self. The word revel here is used in the sense of play. People generally require a lot of playthings to keep themselves in good humor, like skating rings, theaters, or a pack of cards. Because you have to amuse yourself, you are always doing something. Here, Krishna says that the wise man amuses himself by himself. Nothing else is required to amuse the person. And he is amused all the time. With eyes open or closed, he is amused. And when he looks at his mind, he is definitely amused. Even the wise man has memories, but instead of getting into them, he is simply amused by them. The mind itself is like an amusement park. You require no one or nothing else to thrill you. Your own mind provides all kinds of amusement, musings, and thrillers too. It has music and talk shows also. Because a wise man is amused in himself, by himself, he is called antar arama here. Finally, the wise man is called antar jyotihi. I will read once again, antar arama.
Yes, Bella, you can read more time. Yeah.
Because this person is anta sukha, he or she revels in the self. The word revel here is used in the sense of play. People generally require a lot of playthings. Kindly mute yourself. People generally require a lot of playthings to keep themselves in good humor, like skating rings, theaters, or a pack of cards. Because you have to amuse yourself, you are always doing something. Here, Krishna says that the wise man amuses himself by himself. Nothing else is required to amuse the person. And he is amused all the time. With eyes open or closed, he is amused. And when he looks at his mind, he is definitely amused. Even the wise man has memories, but instead of getting into them, he is simply amused by them. Please remember this line, last line. Even the wise man has memories, but instead of getting into them, he is simply amused by them. The mind itself is like an amusement park. You require no one or nothing else to thrill you. Your own mind provides all kinds of amusement, musings, and thrillers too. It has music and talk shows also. Because a wise man is amused in himself, by himself, he is called antar arama here. So antar sukhi and antar arama. And now the third one, antar jyotihi. Finally, the wise person is called antar jyotihi, meaning mind here. Jyotihi usually means light. Like light, the mind illumines objects for you to see. Therefore, it is called Jyoti. In addition to illumining objects, the mind is also awake to the self that puts up the seeming show of division. In dream, you are the dreamer, the dreaming, and the objects dreamt. In waking, it is the same thing. The seer or the knower is the self, the sight, the thought is the self, and the objects of the thought, the seen, is the same self alone. The consciousness that is the self is the same knower consciousness. I will read Antar Jyoti once again. Finally, the wise person is called Antar Jyotihi, meaning mind here. Jyotihi usually means light. Like light, the mind illumines objects for you to see. Therefore, it is called Jyotihi. In addition to illumining objects, the mind is also awake to the self that puts up the seeming show of division. Remember this line. In addition to illumining objects, the mind is also awake to the self that puts up the seeming show of division. In dream, you are the dreamer, the dreaming, and the objects dreamt. In waking, it is the same thing. The seer or the knower is the self. The sight, the thought is the self. And the objects of the thought, the seen, is the same self alone. The consciousness that is the self is the same knower consciousness. So beautiful. All knowledge implies consciousness. Every thought is consciousness.
Sorry.
And
Read the last two sentences one more time.
yeah. Finally, the wise person is called antar, meaning mind here. Jyotihi usually means light. Like light, the mind illumines objects for you to see. Therefore, it is called Jyotihi. In addition to illumining objects, the mind is also awake to the self that puts up the seeming show of division. In dream, you are the dreamer, the dreaming, and the objects dreamt. In waking, it is the same thing. The seer or the knower is the self, the sight, the thought, which is the self, and the objects of the thought, the seen, which is the same self alone. The consciousness, that is the self, is the same knower consciousness.
This is such a beautiful analogy.
Yeah.
That I think helps us understand that the seer, seen, and the sight are the same. It's nothing but the self. So just like how in the dream world, the dreamer, the dream, and the objects of the dream are all the same. Similarly, in the waking state, the knower, the known, and the objects, the whole thing of knowing, all that is nothing but the self. That's such a beautiful analogy.
Yeah, beautiful revelation as well.
Mm-hmm. So
Very
that
nice.
also explains how in the previous para he says the self that seemingly puts up the what was that exact words that he used? That seemingly brings in that duality.
Yeah. It is the self only around you also.
Yes.
Everything is manifestation of your own consciousness, Chaitanya ka.
Can we read once?
Yes. Antar Jyoti is that illumines not just the objects or the mind and the senses. It also illumines the scene. There's a lot of disturbance, I think. Maybe someone has. Let me just mute everyone, Bela, and then you can, in case someone is joining and they're not muted. Yeah. You can unmute yourself, Bela.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think in that Antar Jyoti it was there, right? In addition to illuminating objects, the mind is also awake to the self that puts up the seeming show of division.
Yes, the duality.
So that is what, that is that seeming. It's an illusory thing. There is only the self, but it just puts up the show. Like how in our dream we create the dream world and the dream objects and all that. The self in the waking state, it's just the same. It's just like how in the dream we create. In the waking state also, we can come to that that state, that understanding that all this is nothing but just like a dream.
Yeah.
It's all mithya.
Yes.
And that knower, known, and the object of knowing all merge into one, into the self. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. Yeah. So Antar Sukhi, Antar Jyoti, and Antar Arama. The wise person, also referred to as a yogi in this verse, is said to be one who is in the form of Brahman, Brahma Bhutaha, meaning one whose Atma is Brahman, the one whose Atma is no more separate from Brahman, whose very self is Brahman. And what does this wise person gain? Moksha, liberation. Brahma Nirvana. Brahma Nirvana means Brahma Nivritti or Brahma Ananda, otherwise called moksha. I will read this para again. The wise person, also referred to as a yogi in this verse, is said to be one who is in the form of Brahman, Brahma Bhutaha, meaning one whose Atma is Brahman, the one whose Atma is no more separate from Brahman, whose very self is Brahman. And what does this wise person gain? Moksha, liberation. Brahma Nirvana. Brahma Nirvana means Brahma Nirvritti. Am I spelling the correct? Nirvritti? Brahma Nirvritti or Brahma Ananda, otherwise called moksha. The one who is antar sukha, antar arama, and antar jyoti, being one whose self is Brahman, Brahma Bhuta, gains moksha, freedom from a sense of limitation and bondage. The self that is Brahman is understood by this person. Therefore, the person is Brahman. It reminds me of Nanaji's Atma Bodh sentences. Aham na ki alpagnya kinchignya. I am perfect. I am limitless.
Yeah, that's in the Tattva Bodh, I think. Aham sarvajnaha, aham sarvavyapi, sarvajnaha, natu kinchigyaha, natu alpajnaha. That is, an ajnani thinks he is alpajnaha, he is kinchigyaha, he is limited, he has limited knowledge, whereas a Brahma Bhuta or a jnani thinks he is sarvajnaha, sarvavyapi. So
that's beautiful. And who is this person? From verse 22 of this chapter onwards, Lord Krishna has started summing up his description of a sannyasi as the person who is sarva karma sannyasi, the one who renounces all forms of action, not literally, but by knowledge. I will read once again. From verse 22nd of this chapter onwards, Lord Krishna has started summing up his description of a sannyasi as the person who is a sarva karma sannyasi, the one who renounces all forms of action, not literally, but by knowledge. Krishna used the same word, Brahma Nirvana, in the last verse of the second chapter. The person whose self is in Brahman is not deluded and being established in Brahman, even at the end of one's life, gains liberation. There is a footnote that is from Gita chapter 2, 72, verse. This person is called Brahma Bhuta in the present verse, one whose Atma is Brahman, free from doership and enjoyership. Such a person gains Brahma Nirvana, which is moksha. Because the word nirvana alone is sometimes understood as some kind of void, we use the word Brahma Nirvana. Nirvana means ananda, freedom from everything. In other words, the limitlessness that is one's own nature. I will read Nirvana once again. Nirvana means ananda, freedom from everything. In other words, the limitlessness that is one's own nature. Krishna then goes on to complete his summary of a Sarva Karma Sannyasi in the last few verses of this chapter. Labhante Brahma Nirvanam Rishaya Ksheena Chinnan Dvaidharyatatmanaha Sarvabhuta Hiterataha. Ksheena Kalmashaha, those whose impurities have been destroyed. Chinna Dvaidaha, those whose doubts have been resolved. Yata Atmanaha, those who have self-mastery. Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha, those who are happily engaged in the good of all beings. Rishayaha, sages. Brahma Nirvanam, liberation. Labhante, gain. Ksheena Kalmashaha, Chinna Dvaidaha, Yata Atmanaha, Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha, Rishayah Brahma Nirvanam Labhante. Sages whose impurities have been destroyed, whose doubts have been resolved, who have self-mastery, and who are happily engaged in the good of all beings gain liberation. So beautiful. I'll read once again the meaning. Sages whose impurities have been destroyed, whose doubts have been resolved, who have self-mastery, and who are happily engaged in the good of all beings gain liberation. In the previous verse, Krishna described the person who has already gained moksha using the words Anta Sukha, Antar Arama, and Antar Jyotihi. Such people are also the subject of this present verse. They are called Rishis, which is generally translated as sages. For some people, the word Rishi brings to mind an old man with matted hair, a long white beard, and long fingernails, practicing extreme forms of austerities. In reality, the word Rishi has two meanings. The one who keeps moving, Atati, who does not get caught up in any one place or situation, and the one who knows, Janati. In the present context, the latter meaning applies. All the teachers in the Vedas are referred to as Rishis. These are the people who gain moksha. I will read the Rishi definition once again. In reality, the word Rishi has two meanings. The one who keeps moving, Atati, who does not get caught up in any one place or situation, and the one who knows, Janati. In the present context, the latter meaning applies. All the teachers in the Vedas are referred to as Rishis. These are the people who gain moksha. How does one become a sage? How did they become Rishis? Once again, we find that Krishna gives a complete description of the wise man within the verse itself. First of all, they are Kshina Kalmashaha, those for whom all impurity, Kalmasha, is destroyed. Kshina. Impurity here means one's raga dveshas. By living a life of karma yoga and inquiry, the impurities are gone. I will read once again. This is for Antakarana Shuddhi. How did they become rishis? Once again, we find that Krishna gives a complete description of the wise man within the verse itself. First of all, they are Kshina Kalmashaha, those for whom all impurity, Kalmasha, is destroyed. Kshina. Impurity here means one's raga dveshas. By living a life of karma yoga and inquiry, the impurities are gone. They are also described as Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha, those who joyously engage themselves for the good of all beings. Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha. So beautiful. They are also described here as Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha, those who joyously engage themselves for the good of all beings. This is very important qualification for the one who wants to gain knowledge. Afterwards, of course, acting in this way becomes natural to the person. Such people observe ahimsa, non-violence, with great alertness and sensitivity. They do not hurt other persons or beings in any way, by word, action, or even by thought. In fact, the vow of ahimsa, not to hurt another, is the main vow a person takes when he or she takes to the life of sannyasa. This is why sannyasis give up all competitive activities. For in order to win or compete in anything, injury to another person or living being is inevitable. It is inherent in competition of any kind. By taking the vow of ahimsa, the sannyasi announces to all beings that they have nothing to fear from him or her. So beautiful. I'll read once again. Such people observe ahimsa, non-violence, with great alertness and sensitivity. They do not hurt other people, other persons, or beings in any way, by word, action, or even by thought. In fact, the vow of ahimsa, not to hurt another, is the main vow a person takes when he or she takes to the life of sannyasa. This is why sannyasis give up all competitive activities. For in order to win or compete in anything, injury to another person or living being is inevitable. It is inherent in competition of any kind. By taking the vow of ahimsa, the sannyasi announces to all beings that they have nothing to fear from him or her. All doubts are resolved for good. The word yatatmanah in this verse refers to those who have control or mastery over the organs of action and organs of perception. The word, I will read once again the line. The word yatatmanah in this verse refers to those who have control or mastery over the organs of action and organs of perception. Such people are also Chinna Dvaidhas. Dvaidha means samshaya, doubt, and Chinna means resolved, removed, uprooted. For these people, all doubts are gone. In this pursuit, doubts can take many forms, such as is Atma limitless or limited? Is Atma eternal or non-eternal? Is Atma one or many? Is the individual Jiva different from Ishvara? Is the world real or unreal? I will read this once again. The word yatatmanah in this verse refers to those who have control or mastery over the organs of actions and organs of perception. Such people are also Chinna Dvaidhas. Dvaidha means samshaya, doubt, and Chinna means resolved, removed, uprooted. For these people, all doubts are gone. In this pursuit, doubts can take many forms, such as is Atma limitless or limited? Is Atma eternal or non eternal? Is Atma one or many? Is the individual Jiva different from Ishvara? Is the world real or unreal? The wise are free from all such doubts, which means a lot of inquiry has been done. All the concepts have been carefully analyzed, and the knowledge has been freed of all possible doubts. That is so beautiful. Sadhanas for a seeker. While the qualifications given in this verse are natural to a wise person, they are means or sadhanas for the one who wants to gain self-knowledge. Enjoying these virtues, people become rishis and gain the freedom they are seeking. Further, Krishna says, Kama krodha viyuktanam yatinam yatachetasam abhito brahma nirvanam vartate viditatmanam. Kama krodha viyuktanam. For those who are free from desire and anger, yata chetasam. For those whose mind is under control, viditatmanam. For those who know the self, yatinam. For the sannyasis, abhitaha. Both here and in the hereafter. Brahma Nirvanam, liberation, vartate, there is. Kama krodha viyuktanam yata chetasam viditatmanam yatinam abhitaha Brahma Nirvanam vartate. For sannyasis, those who are free from desire and anger, whose mind is under control and who know the self, there is liberation both here and in the hereafter. Throughout the Gita, there is a repeated mention of kama and krodha and the need to become free of them. Those who have freed themselves from kama krodha are referred to here as kama krodha viyuktaha. Kama, as we have seen, is desire born of one's likes and dislikes, raga, dveshas, and krodha, anger, is born of desire. These two, kama and krodha, hold people under their control. And those who have freed themselves of them are the subject of this verse. There are a few more words in this verse qualifying those who are wise. I will read once again this kama and krodha. Kama, as we have seen, is desire born of one's likes and dislikes, raga, dveshas, and krodha, anger, is born of desire. These two, kama and krodha, hold people under their control. And those who have freed themselves of them are the subject of this verse. There are a few more words in this verse qualifying those who are wise. Yati means a person who is a mumukshu, who has a desire for moksha. Such a person makes proper effort, which implies yoga. In common parlance, Yati means a sannyasi, but in its true sense, it includes the karma yogi also. Anyone who is engaged in a well-directed pursuit or inquiry into the nature of oneself is a mumukshu, and therefore a yati, whether the person lives the life of a sannyasi or a karma yogi. I will read this Yati definition once again. Yati means a person who is a mumukshu, who has a desire for moksha. Such a person makes proper effort, which implies yoga. In common parlance, yati means a sannyasi, but in its true sense, it includes the karma yogi also. Anyone who is engaged in a well-directed pursuit or inquiry into the nature of oneself is a mumukshu and therefore a yati, whether the person lives the life of a sannyasi or a karma yogi. Such a person who has his or her mind under control is called a yata chetas, because these people are also described here as viditatmas, those who know the Atma. In this compound, the word yata indicates that they are sarva karma sannyasis, those who have given up all action in terms of knowledge of the actionless self. Not only are they totally free from kama and krodha, they are also free of all action because of the knowledge of Atma. If all that is required is knowledge of Atma, why worry about kamas and krodhas? Is it not a waste of time to get rid of desire and anger? Why not pursue Atma Gnana straight away? The answer is that unless Kama Krodha is addressed, you cannot know the Atma. Once again, then, what is implied here is the need for a certain level of maturity and a commitment to the knowledge. So beautiful. I will read this paragraph again. If all that is required is knowledge of Atma, why worry about kamas and krodhas? Is it not a waste of time to get rid of desire and anger? Why not pursue Atma Gnana straight away? The answer is that unless kama krodha is addressed, you cannot know the Atma. Once again, then, what is implied here is the need for a certain level of maturity and a commitment to the knowledge.
It is exactly why Krishna asks Arjuna to fight, because Arjuna has a lot of krodha with respect to resentment with respect to Duryodhana and his brothers, because he was all through his Ajnatavas and all the 14 years in the forest was piling up different kinds of weapons only to prepare for this moment of the war where he can get back the kingdom. So, and he wanted to just drop everything and take to sannyas and go to Rishikesh, pursue Atma Jnana. Krishna says, no, stand up and fight. Because he had to get that, develop that level of maturity, give up his, address his kama and krodha first, before taking up to sannyas.
True. He had desire also to take revenge for Draupadi's insult. I mean, that desire was in all 5 brothers.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very amusing. I think some of the previous paragraphs, you had read that we are born innocent, and then we are thrown into a lot of difficulty. We are given a lot of suffering, and this actually paves the way for maturity to happen.
Yeah.
So we are thrown into the world where we go through a lot of pain, suffering, and all that, and then there is an opportunity for us to come out of this, develop maturity. That is, those of us who turn to become karma yogis will take to developing and develop that inner maturity. Whereas those that remain as karmis will continue the cycle of suffering and enjoyment, suffering, that will continue. Yeah.
Very beautiful.
Here, I feel that what we did in the part 1 course on acceptance, there was one topic, active acceptance and passive acceptance. And here it is like Krishna is telling Arjun, take corrective action without getting your mind disturbed. So he's telling them to kill them, but without any disturbances in his mind. That is the correct thing to do. So active acceptance is you take corrective actions, not that you don't do anything, you drop everything and you suffer. Just mind of that.
Yeah, that's also a very nice perspective, which is what it is.
Yes.
And he does it. You are not the doer. He shows him the Vishwarupa Sandarshana where all of them are already being killed. They're already there in the jaws and the teeth, between the teeth of the Virat Rupa there. So he says all you have to do is just become an instrument. Nimitta matram bhava. Savyasachin. So just be an instrument there.
Here in this paragraph where they're talking about dropping kama and krodha, and that was very good. Like that brought me to that active acceptance, where you take corrective action but without being mentally disturbed.
But to implement it, like what Arjun must have been going through, it again needs a preparation of the mind. Like you are doing the action, but behind you know that you are not doing the action. The mind should be prepared for so Arjun must be on some level at that time when he was being told that everyone is already, the action is already done, you don't worry and you fight.
I think, but in the 11th chapter, when he says that he feels so free while saying those verses. He feels free that he's all the agnan is removed and he knows now the reality. So he was completely free after Vishwarupa Darshan. That he is not the doer.
But this thing, I think you had, it was mentioned here that all this antar jyoti, antararama and antasukha and all that should continue, will need to be continued till the end, isn't it?
Yes.
There was some sentence there, because in Arjuna's case, as Gita was being unfolded, he seemed to have got the realization, but then some days later, when Abhimanyu, his son, died, he was killed, he seemed to have got back into his the mamakara of a father, and he went through a lot of misery,
pain,
a lot of grief. And then he asks Krishna, you told me some very nice words of wisdom, can you please repeat them, because they bring a lot of solace to me. And then Krishna says, that was then. So, and then I think he gives him the Uttara Gita. So this state of enlightenment that steady state, to achieve that steady state, requires a lot of discipline, a lot of maturity. We will have to uproot all those, even the traces of kama and krodha that might be there. Isn't it? So it should be like a clean slate, clean mirror that does not get any more dust on it. So I wonder when that state will happen. See, we all have those moments of bliss when we meditate and all that, but we don't achieve a steady state. But when I'm just wondering when that steady state will actually dawn. And I think it's a matter of being patient, continue to be a karma yogi, be in knowledge, and then I think by the grace, that is what Sharna had mentioned. He says, you just have to prepare your mind, keep your mind antakarana shuddh. And then when that happens, that realization happens, is a matter of time. And for that, you need to be very patient. Then by the grace of the Lord, that will dawn.
Like a farmer neatly, has to keep the land for time.
So beautiful, very beautiful, Savitaji.
Yeah.
There was a story of a old man who had been meditating and sitting in a samadhi sthiti for such a long period of time, for years together. And then Shiva comes down in the form of an old Brahmin. And he asks him, when will I get moksha? And he says, you see, there's so many trees around you. Once as many leaves are there on those trees, that many lifetimes you'll have to meditate to get moksha. So he gets very upset. And there was a young boy meditating near the saint. He asked the same question. He says, you see the tree under which you are sitting, that many leaves. And this fellow says, oh, only so many lifetimes. So he is immediately given moksha, whereas that fellow has to go through so many lifetimes to get moksha. So that question Brahmaraji asked about when will we get to that state?
Right. That is true. Very nice. So for that, we need to have that shraddha. We need to be that samyatendriyaha. Those three things, right? Samyatendriyaha, shraddha, and
Raga dvesha. First you have to.
Raga dvesha viyukta.
All acceptance, knowledge, everything counts, I think.
Right.
Yeah, because
and then we should have infinite patience.
Yes.
Patience, and not be feverish about when. We drop all that and have the faith that it will happen. It will.
And moreover, we are already nirguno, nishkriyo, nityo, nirvikalpo, niranjana. So we have to just,
Only the false covering has to be removed, the false identification, and then it is there. Achirena digachati. You can get it this moment.
Small things keeps happening in our life and we get disturbed. But again, we have to become centered. Like the graph goes up and down every time. But now we are getting more steadier. Initially, we used to we were all shaken up by whatever was happening. But now the steadiness is more and it comes more faster and easily. I experienced 2-3 days back because, I misplaced my gold earring and I could not find it. So I was feeling very bad for 2-3 hours. Then I thought, leave it. It must have been like destined to go away from me. So I had that thought, and I just left it. I thought that maybe it doesn't belong to me now. So these small things which keeps on happening in your life. It's not only of this thing possession also, but related to any problem. The whatever you have, you go smoothly. You are shaken for a time, but after that you become steady. It's okay, fine. Let's move ahead. So that this knowledge has helped a lot, like to make us sthir buddhi.
Yeah, that viveka comes, no? What is real,
Yeah.
what is not real, what's permanent, what's
Yeah.
not permanent. That's very nice. Thank you for sharing.
That's very nice. Sthira buddhi. Once the commitment is total, you will gain the knowledge. You will be a vidit Atma. Then there is nothing for you to worry about, because knowing Atma and gaining moksha are one and the same. Because of the knowledge of the self that is ever free, you are liberated. Once liberated, always liberated. The word abhitaha in the verse is explained as ubhayataha, meaning in both ways. Here, while living, there is moksha for these people, and later in the hereafter also there is moksha. Knowing you are free is the greatest freedom. While living, you are liberated, you are free. This is one freedom. The second freedom is called after death freedom. In that, there is no coming back to this bondage, because you are free once and for all. Some people worry about what happens after death, saying, I take all this effort and gain liberation here, but suppose I come back. Any supposing with reference to coming back, having gained liberation by knowledge, is totally irrelevant. There must be a nucleus of some kind for there to be any coming back. The nucleus is the jiva, the individual, and that is what is falsified. Who or what then is there to come back? Liberation having been gained, there is no one any more to come back. Thus, Krishna says that in both ways, here and hereafter, those who know the Atma gain moksha. Although a twofold moksha is talked about in terms of a here and a hereafter, in fact, there is only one moksha. A twofold moksha is mentioned only with reference to this question of coming back. There are, on the other hand, people who are afraid that they will not be able to come back. They want to come back to this world. What for? I asked. So that I can accomplish something more or do something better next time, they say. This means they have already concluded that they are not going to make it in this life. First, let us take care of this life. Then the next life will take care of itself. This is the essence of the whole stanza. I will read once again. There are, on the other hand, people who are afraid that they will not be able to come back. They want to come back to this world. What for? I asked. So that I can accomplish something more or do something better next time, they say. This means they have already concluded that they are not going to make it in this life. First, let us take care of this life. Then the next life will take care of itself. That is so beautiful. Introduction to meditation.
This only means that that total commitment we should have here in this life, and not be like half-hearted in our attempts to rid ourselves of ragadveshas, taking care of having a hold on our senses. All of this, it has to be done with that total dedication and commitment.
Do you want me to continue reading, or we want to have Manana?
I think this one paragraph you can do, and then after that is the shloka, next shloka, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do this one, and then we can do Manana.
Yeah, because this shloka is with reference to, I think, meditation only. Okay, no problem. I'll read. I think it is the preparation for this next verse only. Okay. Introduction to meditation. There are two types of sadhana, bahiranga sadhana or external means, and antaranga sadhana or internal means. Doing karma is doing what is to be done by you with the right attitude and following proper values. In other words, karma yoga is called bahiranga sadhana. Meditation, dhyana, wherein the mind alone is involved, is called antaranga sadhana. It can be a prayer, a contemplation, or any inner discipline, but it is purely internal. No limbs are involved, nor is the organ of speech. Therefore, one type of sadhana is external and the other is internal, both of which we should follow. The external means bahiranga sadhana. Take care of your likes and dislikes because these can only be worked out through your interactions with the external world. For gaining steadiness of mind and the composure necessary to gain self-knowledge, there is the inner discipline of meditation, antaranga sadhana, which is also very important. Thus, Krishna first gives a brief account of dhyana yoga, meditation, in the next 3 verses, and then discusses it at length in the next chapter.
Very beautiful.
Shall I read once again? I will read the introduction to meditation once again, and then we can have the manana. There are two types of sadhana, bahiranga sadhana or external means, and antaranga sadhana or internal means. Doing karma is doing what is to be done by you with the right attitude and following proper values. In other words, karma yoga is called bahiranga sadhana. Meditation, dhyana, wherein the mind alone is involved, is called antaranga sadhana. It can be a prayer, a contemplation, or any inner discipline, but it is purely internal. No limbs are involved, nor is the organ of speech. Therefore, one type of sadhana is external and the other is internal, both of which we should follow. The external means bahiranga sadhana, take care of your likes and dislikes because these can only be worked out through your interactions with the external world. For gaining steadiness of mind and the composure necessary to gain self-knowledge, there is the inner discipline of meditation, antaranga sadhana, which is also very important. Thus, Krishna first gives a brief account of dhyana yoga, meditation, in the next 3 verses, and then discusses it at length in the next chapter. We will just close our eyes for a few moments and then we will start our manana, please. Yeah, Jai Gurudev, kindly share your takeaways for today's Manana.
Jai Gurudev. I like the sentence at the last paragraph that the external sadhana we use will clear off our likes and dislikes. That is again a revelation, you know. So what we do, kriya and all other things, and pranayama, using the limbs and all other things. With that, we can get rid of the likes and dislikes because we use our limbs, external limbs, to interact with the object of the world. So that is a really very good cleaning of likes and dislikes in your mind. This one, antakarana shuddhi. Wonderful. And meditation gives the mind, purity of the mind. And the sadhana, what we do, the yoga and pranayama, will get rid of the likes and dislikes. So wonderful. That's beautiful.
I think for Atma Jnana to happen, you require two things. One is antakarana shuddhi and antakarana naischalya, which is that steadiness of the mind. So for the antakarana shuddhi, which is what is being raga dvesha viyukta, completely getting rid of your raga dveshas, kama and krodha. For that, your bahiranga sadhana is very important. And here, not just the kriya and all that, but also your interactions with the world outside, with your own self, your own senses and the world outside. And this is where I think all the yama niyama comes in of propounded by Patanjali. So what you have to do, you do. You do it with an attitude of a karma yogi, following all those ahimsa, satya, brahmacharya, asteya, parigraha. And then you do it with the niyama. Niyama is all about your self-discipline, wherein you have, it starts with
Yama niyama, that is
Ahar vihar vichar, like ahar vihar vichar.
That is fine, but the niyamas, the starting of the
shaucha,
santosha,
japa,
then tapa, swadhyaya and isha.
Tapa, swadhyaya and ishvara pranidhana.
Yeah.
So there's a beautiful link between what Patanjali says and what Bhagavan says in the Bhagavad Gita. So that living a life of a karma yogi is bahiranga sadhana. And then for developing that antakarana naischalya, that steadiness of the mind, you require dhyana. Which is why Gurudev keeps harping, meditation is the key, You have to, of course, do your outside the bahiranga sadhana is no doubt important. But that alone is only going to give us antakarana shuddhi, that's it. But your mind can still be a little unsteady, which is, I think, what happened to Arjuna. He had not developed that steady state of stillness of the mind, which is why he went back into misery when Abhimanyu was killed. So developing that naischalya is with meditation. So it's a two-pronged approach. It is both, one wing is your bahiranga sadhana and the other wing is the antaranga sadhana. And then you can apply to Atma Jnana.
That is complete Ashtanga yoga. Ashtanga yoga full until samadhi, dhyana, this and until the samadhi is bahiranga, and dhyana, this one samadhi, Antaringa. So complete Ashtanga Yoga is the Karma Yoga. So wonderful. So nice.
Also, the aspect of those three different ways in which a jnani is described. Antararama, Antarjyoti, and what was the third one? Antasukha. He is sukha from inside. He's fulfilled. He does not depend on external fulfillments to get that state of fulfillment. He is himself full. So again, here we get our happiness point where you don't depend on any external thing to be happy. That if and when, or then and when, that is what we remove. And you're just happy right now. It's amazing how Gurudev has packed all these subtle messages in these in the sutras that he's given us, given everybody. I mean, the happiness program is open to everybody. It only depends on our depth of understanding, I suppose. For some, it could just be a superficial happiness point. But then, if you actually look at it, there is so much of Atma Jnana in there. He's making you have a difference between the Anatma and the Atma. The Alpajnaha and the Sarvajnaha. Or Alpasantoshi and person who is Satchidananda. So it's really very, very amazing.
And in simple words, without uttering any shloka or without anything, he included all the points of Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, everything in this wonderful happiness program. So nice.
And Didi, as we mature, with our maturity, the depth also, it deepens. The depth increases of all the points. So at the time when we entered, when we first did whatever we needed that time, we got it. And as we are on the path and getting mature ourselves, our points are also taking us deeper. Like
Correct.
now, as you related,
Yeah. That is why punah, you should keep being in this knowledge again and again. Because every time, like how Prem had once given a story about that dirty basket and this grandson, he keeps taking it to the water to catch water. But ultimately what happens is that the dirty basket becomes so clean. So every time you're dipping into knowledge, there is some deeper cleansing, deeper understanding that's happening.
Shanai.
Yeah.
Slowly.
Which is why even those of us who are chanting the Gita every day, there is some element, of course, if we do it also with understanding the meaning, then there is an element of deeper understanding. And the time that we spend doing this, for instance, this 1.5 hours, and the little time that we spend chanting the Gita, we're actually not doing anything else which is taking us away from the path. Where this 1.5 hours, we are in a very sattvic mode. We're in the mode of Shreyas, in the garb of a mumukshu. Otherwise, we don't know what we would have done if we did not have this 1.5 hours, right? We we would be probably occupied with something which is mundane, which is taking us onto the path of prayers and not onto Shreyas. So, so all this is like, is yoking us to the higher, to the path of Nivritti.
We are blessed, Brahmaraji. We are blessed.
This is also kind of meditation, I believe. It takes us inwards. This time and this manana and this 1.5 hour that we spend together in knowledge.
Or else we would have spent this time in Nishiddha karma, which is not progressive for the growth. You know. So nicely.
So, yeah, everyday manana is so important, so important. How it cleanses our antakaran shuddhi and makes us in a siddha prajna state. Thank you.
After this manana, Bhagavad Gita, so powerful it is actually. It's a cleansing, very much cleansing. After this 1.5 hours manana, when we go and read Bhagavad Gita, that this chapter, whatever we are supposed to, it's so cleansing.
In the higher courses that we do, supposedly higher knowledge, like say Sayyam, there see how many rounds of, in our sadhana, how many rounds of Padma sadhana we are doing daily over there. The same thing you see in TTC, those who have done TTC, teachers training, how many rounds of Padma sadhana they make you do. And then, you realize the value of doing Padma sadhana every day. Daily basis, we have been told to do just one round. All that Dr. Brahma mentioned yesterday about the awareness increasing, the space between the time that you get, that small little gap that you get between getting angry over a situation is when awareness dawns on you. All this will always happen to you when you're doing your sadhana regularly. The importance of Padma sadhana. In the higher levels, why are we doing so many rounds of Padma sadhana? What is it doing to you? And then on this path, if we say, I didn't do my Padma sadhana today, or I did some asanas, I didn't do the others. Okay, if you are medically told not to do something because of some ailment, that is altogether. Other than that.
No, that removes the raga dvesha. That is what I understood now. Is that external cleansing will remove, means we are dealing with the external object. So with that cleansing happening, so we are very controlled in our raga dvesha. So that is the main thing. So wonderfully expressed. So the inner meaning of that is then meditation automatically. Samadhi. So we need all that. So nice. Good. Same thing if we are reading these paragraphs. We read and we just okay. But when we do manana, we are going deep into these sentences. Every sentence is such a meaningful. Every sentence which is going deeper into this. And this can happen only with the manana. That is the knowledge. Imbibing the knowledge. Imbibing means stabilizing the knowledge within us. So that we are becoming purer every day, every second, in the fire of the knowledge. Everything is imbibed in us. Wonderful. This manana is really a very good thing happening to us.
It is like we can compare ourselves to like a gushing stream moving downwards, in full fury. It is in full force, it is going. And there are so many mini whirlpools that are coming. The mini whirlpools that are coming are the challenging situations in our life. And then suddenly downstream, the stream keeps on moving, till it becomes one with the wide ocean. The waves of the ocean are so calm and serene and still. And there is so much of depth in it. So it's like the ether space in the sky above and the waves in the ocean, calm and serene, all are one. But the gushing stream becomes part of the ocean through all the sadhana, seva and satsang that we do, the knowledge that we accumulate. The whirlpools will be there, and each whirlpool will come up and go away in a very short span of time. And each whirlpool will be replaced by another. And the stream will keep moving downwards till it meets up with the ocean, the depth of knowledge. Jai Guru.
And the explanation of antar jyoti was also very revealing in the relationship between how the dreamer and the dream objects are just but the dreamer. Similarly, in the waking state, the light of the self illumines the so-called division. The knowing, the known, and the object of that is known, they're all the same. That was a very revealing statement in how Swamiji explained the antar jyoti, because that is what we are told time and again. Gurudev, Patanjali, they say the merging of the seer, seen, and the whole process of seeing is all one. There is this Patanjali sutra, isn't it, which is Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha. And after all the 5 pramana, the 5 vrittis, there is one sutra which says the seer is abiding in the seer is yoga.
Yes, that is it. But I am not so much.
Yeah, in the Guru Puja Stotra it comes, Sarvadi Sakshi Bhutam. The play of Bhavatitam, Triguna Sahitam, play of these 3 gunas and consciousness.
See, I am outside my home. I am in a marriage hall. Even then, I am listening it. So good. I am impressed. At least my internet is working. I found a place quiet and I am just listening.
Very good. Your commitment is.
The whole marriage hall there. Everyone is quiet.
I find having a pair of ear pods, hearing
Yes.
it, is most important at there such points where you don't need to disturb other people around. At the same time, you can stay connected and listen.
The same thing, earphone.
Yeah, ear pods are good tools to have. So I think in another, maybe tomorrow, we would be able to finish chapter 5. And I was just wondering whether we can just go through, chant the Tattva Bodh and Atma Bodh once before we go on to chapter 6. So that we'll have one round of chanting maybe, and then we can go on to chapter 6. And there is another that it'll be nice that we'll finish the first shatka, first 6 chapters, and then maybe it's been there in the back of my mind. Several people have also asked, those of us who have listened to Rajima's Bhagavad Gita, it's a beautiful, I think just 3 or 4 videos are there, YouTube videos. We can listen to that before we go on to the next shatka.
Oh yes, oh yes.
She talks so much about need-based living, and there's so much of clarity in how she brings up the knowledge. And when people ask, she invites everyone to ask questions. She says, you read chapter 1 and 2 and then come. That's it. And from there, if anybody asks questions, she does not entertain questions that are not relevant to their life. She says, don't suppose things. Is this what is happening to your life? If it is happening in your life, ask what it is. Then you'll get an answer. Otherwise, no hypothetical question she entertains, because then that is going out of sync. So she's very, very beautiful. I mean, it's very nice to be in that space. And also, maybe after we've done the Gita home study, we will listen to her Bhagavatam lectures. We can do a saptah with that. So this is kind of plan.
Videos of Rajima are posted somewhere?
They're actually there in my YouTube channel. If you can go through the video.
Okay. I see.
Bhagavad Gita is posted there.
Okay.
Bhagavatam, I've still not put it on YouTube. Yeah.
Very great idea, Dee. Excellent.
That's so beautiful, Brahmaraji. Dhanyavad. Brahmaraji, tomorrow I'll be going
tomorrow
for
I understand. No, I understand. You have long kriya. I will take up tomorrow, not an issue. Okay.
I can read till 6:30.
Yeah.
And you can take over.
First half an hour, no? You can read up to first half an hour. No problem.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we will also be going for Vignan Bhairav Part 3 with Gurudev.
Yes.
That's in the morning.
10 o'clock, 10 to 1 and 4 to 7. So many hours with Gurudev we are having.
Right. I know. Enjoy it.
Same here.
And remember us, please.
Tomorrow and the day after, yeah.
Especially when you are with Gurudev.
Yes.
Today's Mahasatsang on TV also, I think.
Okay.
Like Satsang. So today is Mahasatsang at Goregaon. Tomorrow is Vignan Bhairav Part 3. And day after tomorrow is Rudra Puja at Thani.
Mm.
7 o'clock. So I think 2 days I will miss out.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's fine. Be on YouTube. You could listen to that later, maybe. The only thing is, like Nana said, it's better to continue the flow unless and all of us are not able to do it, then it's fine. But otherwise, let's continue the uninterrupted flow.
Yeah.
In fact, this time,
Brahmaraji,
yes,
the first Shatka summary, I would love to have
I will post it in the group, Bela. It is posted sometime back, but I'll repost it. We will do that before going on to chapter 7.
Chapter 6.
First Shatka, no? So I think
yes.
completing
Sorry.
Six.
Yeah, after chapter 6. Oh, sorry.
After 6, we'll do that.
Okay. Great.
Yeah. This time during Shivratri, I had taken this Gita home press Bhagavad Gita book and got Gurudev to bless it. I told him we're doing Manana every day. So we have his blessings as well.
Wow. Dhanyavad, Brahmaraji.
Brahmaraji, where you get that book?
That you could go to the Gita Press website. You can order it online. Otherwise, even these railway stations, you remember Higginbotham's and all of that in the railway stations? You get it there. In fact, my Nana had got a whole lot of those books and he would gift them to others. In fact, this book that I got is from Nana's place only. Okay. Yeah.
One last thing, that e-flyer for the advanced course was to be made.
Madhuriji, can you just make sure that is done?
Yes, I will do it by today afternoon.
Stop that.
And all of us who have committed to doing the advanced course, please register so that we can get the ball rolling.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah. Jai Gurudev. I think we'll complete. Bela, you want to read the Shanti part?
Kindly go ahead, Brahmaraji, please.
Okay. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.